Hello, everyone. This is our Tuesday night wellness class. So we're going to talk about how to get rid of doubt and indecisiveness for good. And that is possible. And I'm really excited to share this information with you today. All right, so let's get started, guys. This is just the overview of what we're going to talk about today. All right, just a bunch of really important information. The goal of why we do these classes on these weekly basis is to help each other be more self-aware and awakened. So, if you talk to anybody, if you ask anybody here on the call, most of these people, they would tell you that they've experienced more self-awareness and awakenedness, right? Just recognizing your own feelings and thoughts and beliefs and feeling more empowered to change your life. Okay, and that's the point of why we meet and why we learn these things, okay? So just keep that in mind as we explore some of the things tonight, okay? So let's just start from basics here. We just need to talk about what doubt is and what indecision is, and I'm sure everybody knows. So the doubt is just feeling uncertain and questioning and hesitating, distrusting perhaps, maybe a little bit of a suspicion. And then indecision is just an inability to decide, all right? So anybody here kind of struggle with that, having a hard time making quick decisions and feeling confident about your decisions?
Me.
Yeah, you can hit the raise your hand button also, guys. Yeah, and that was me, a long time ago as well. But as I learned how to do this better, things have improved, and I just want to share with you what I know, so it's not like the answer to everything. What is that show, The Answer to Everything and whatever, and it was like 50 something. So yeah, so no, it's not the answer to everything, but I just want to share with you what I have discovered. Okay, so basically let's just explore why there's a negative results, okay, of indecision and just doubtfulness. Because if we know that it's not healthy, then we are more motivated to change it, okay? Because sometimes people say, well, it's not too bad, I just overthink it and I think it long enough and I just make really careful decisions. But I'll tell you why we want to change, okay? Because it holds us back from personal growth and maturity. That's why, okay? When we can make quicker decisions and we have more trust, we'll be able to grow faster and have more maturity. Okay, so, being stuck in indecision and doubtfulness causes lots of stress and worry. And it's really unnecessary stress and worry, causes us to overthink a lot and causes us to feel anxious, okay? And then we're unhappy and unfulfilled, and we miss out on opportunities, okay? So we lack confidence and security. And that means, we really are not anchored in a firm foundation, okay, in truth. So we really need to kind of be aware of that. We can't lead others. If we're an indecisive person, don't be surprised that people don't want to follow, okay? People don't respect us, and especially some of the moms that I've spoken to over the years, like, the kids don't listen to me, they're not obedient, or my husband won't listen to me, he doesn't listen, or things like that, okay? Because we are indecisive and doubtful, all right, it just creates that disrespect because we don't respect ourselves, okay, as much. And then, of course, if you don't make decisions, right, you get default, you get mediocrity. Okay, the universe will choose for you, right? So we just need to be aware of that. And if we're indecisive and doubtful, we overly attach ourselves to people and get people to make those decisions for us. What do you think? What do you think? And then when it's not the best results, we are disappointed that they told us wrong or bad. Okay. And then that means we start blaming and giving away our power. So there's so many people that are unaware and give away their power so much that they don't know how to bring it back. Okay, but I know we can. So we just need to bring it back in degrees, and eventually we'll be able to own our power more fully. The indecisiveness and doubtfulness creates low quality relationships, okay? Because you don't know what you want. You know, you're not sure. I have a friend, she was complaining about her husband, and she's like, Jade, oh, I'm so mad at him, blah, blah, blah. What's up? You know, she's like, oh, he just doesn't know what to say and do for me, for Valentine's Day, for this and this and this. And I'm like, why? What's the problem? She's like, he doesn't do anything. And I said, okay, well, what do you want? And she's like, I don't know. I said, you don't know what you want? She's like, I don't know. I just want to be surprised. I'm like, girlfriend, just figure out what you want first, okay? You know, do him a favor, right? Because if you don't know what you want, how on earth is he going to know what you want? So it's not a very high quality relationship that we have, and especially with our friends and stuff, we can't communicate things because we haven't decided, okay? The other thing too is others can't fully depend on us or rely on us because we're not fully committed. We say we're coming and then we cancel, or we say we're going to be there on time and then we come late, or, you know, all of these things are like, oh, this person's a little bit, you know, she's not quite sure, she's not anchored, so I'm not going to just trust that she's going to be there for me. All right. And they have a hard time feeling the reward of accomplishment. Okay, so when you fully own your power, you fully know that you've made all those decisions and you fully know that you've created it. You've created whatever the result is, the accomplishments. Okay, you can fully own that. But when you haven't decided, you know, and you don't own all of those actions, feelings, and beliefs, then, you know, whatever the accomplishments are, you just don't feel that fullness of joy. All right, so that's why sometimes when the parents do their homework for the kids or whatever it is, the kids don't own that accomplishment fully, right? And we just kind of rob them of that, you know, greater sensation of joy, okay? And of course, that means we're not being fully empowered and happy. So, you know, being indecisive and doubtful, okay, that means we're limiting our happiness. And people have low immunity, okay? That means they have weak boundaries. Okay, so on the physical level, it reflects. So when people say, I catch everything, you know, I quickly figure out that maybe they don't have healthy boundaries, and healthy boundary means maybe they haven't figured out who they are yet, right? So, you know, over the years, I've met tons and tons of people like that, and we just resolve it through being decisive, right? Being trusting, and just staying committed to who they are, okay, what they want and what they like, and etc. Sometimes being indecisive leads to leads to leg problems, okay, because they're afraid of moving forward. They think moving forward hurts, okay, and so their legs hurt, and then they can't move forward, and they can't walk or something. So I had several people that were actually in wheelchairs that I've helped be able to walk. Because they have allowed themselves to be more decisive and allowed themselves to look forward to things maybe turning out better than, you know, than they imagine. Gut problems, because you're in your head a lot. You're robbing your gut of the power to allow things to flow smoothly. Okay, so we can balance the energy flow in our body when we allow ourselves to decide to create. Okay, we get headaches, and that's kind of an obvious, isn't it? Because of the overthinking, and we have heart problems. The heart is the guide, it's the compass for us. So when people don't honor their heart, okay, guide them, they don't experience the fullness of joy, okay? And, you know, I've read scriptures where it says men's heart shall fail them in the last days, or hardened heart, because people don't allow themselves to feel anymore, all right? So what do you guys think? You know, does this make sense to you? Do you have a stronger desire to now learn to be decisive? Okay,
I actually,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, so I actually feel like I see this so much. I actually, so I have this, my right thumb, and like I know what the energy in that is, but I realized that, and it's just like, I'm sure it's probably like maybe what like very light arthritis feels like, maybe.
Mhm.
And I don't feel it all the time. I feel it sometimes. And I realize that it's there's an energy there. It's actually about rejection is what that's about. And so as I'm working through that, I realize that I'm experiencing that because instead of using my thumb properly,
Mhm.
I use my thumb fearfully and in a controlling way. So like I'm putting more pressure because I'm afraid I'm going to lose something. And so actually like I see this so energetically, honestly. Like, and I feel like probably with the legs, probably you're using your legs incorrectly. You're fighting against that flow, because whenever we do have that perfect flow of energy and love and are using our bodies correctly, that's whenever we are um, in line with whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. Because whenever we are indecisive, what are we doing? But we're putting blocks as opposed to flowing. We're like, oh, here's all these stumbling blocks, here's all these problems, as opposed to just flowing with what's correct. And so I definitely feel this so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So I have the flip chart here and just looked up the hand. And so Ashley was talking about the thumb, and it's about worry, right? So if you worry or you're not using it properly, like she said, it hurts. But the beauty is our body is like always telling us clues, right? And just say, hey, hang on, recognize that you're worrying too much. Okay, you need to balance up a little bit, right? And then you get that opportunity to change. Okay, so that's pretty much, it's just a daily reminder of how to adjust yourself. Right, so why are we indecisive and doubtful? So when people do sessions with me, I don't know if they get annoyed with me or not, but when they have an emotion, I ask them why, and they're like, well, I don't know. I said, let's pause and think about it a little bit. Why? And there's lots of reasons why, of course, and I'll give you some that I think might be the reasons, and it might be multiple reasons for each person as well. All right, so let's explore this a little bit. Well, I feel like the first thing is we don't feel God's love. We don't, because of that, we don't feel his guidance and we don't feel protected. Okay. So, if you don't feel that way, use rose oil, kind of try and resolve it there. Because if we anchor ourselves in God, then we'll be able to, take care of a lot of the problems that we're going to list out today. So the next one is fearful. Okay, fearful habits and thoughts and beliefs. All right, so that's why we doubt, because we come up with a lot of imagined fears. Okay, um, and just we're so creative, but let's use our creative energy elsewhere. Another reason is because we have this perfectionism. We think that happiness comes with perfection. And so when things are not perfect now, we hold happiness out. Okay. And so we're thinking and thinking so much because we want to make sure that we make the right decision. Okay. So if you are that type of people, all right, use HD Clear. Okay. So the other thing is lack of faith and trust in God, right? Knowing that God is loving and intelligent and is going to be there for you, right? It makes it easier to make decisions, right? But sometimes the false beliefs, sometimes the words of Satan comes to your mind and you say, oh, I feel alone and no one's here for me. It's all on me, right? I'm there for the kids. No one, my husband doesn't care. These people don't care, right? It's all me, all right? And so when you do that, it's a sign of a lack of faith, okay? So the other thing is sometimes we just haven't taken the time to fully connect to God, right? And develop that strong testimony in God. When we have that strong foundation, we feel secure. We have the fundamental human need of importance and certainty down. Okay. So the other thing is we haven't committed to understand God's intelligence and loving and caring nature, right? I've talked to a few people and they're like, well, God's scary, and if I mess up, he's gonna punish me, right? Instead of like, God's here to guide me, and if I mess up, it's okay. Okay. The other one is not trusting in your own heart compass and gut instincts. So we have these amazing tools and mechanisms inside of us, but we haven't learned how to use it. All right, and I'll show you how to do that today. We don't have our own opinions or ideas, right? So we need to be liked by everyone, right? Anyone experience that? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do, Jade. If I can speak up for a second, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I love listening to you, and I experience this a lot, and I'm aware of it, and I think being around positive people is important because, and people say, because being around the opposite is very draining, and I don't feel protected, and I haven't learned to use the oils properly in that respect yet. And the positive beliefs and affirmations that I have prepared have not been enough for me alone in a situation with multiple people that don't have faith. And that energy is very dangerous for me. I felt very triggered, but after talking with you about it, I realized it was all a lack of faith, and it was all just, I wasn't anchored in the truth. Also didn't have, I wasn't prepared for it. So I didn't have, which I am now. If I revisit that situation, I hope I am prepared with the right words to respond.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I don't rely on myself because I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I
And
mean,
I'm my own thing.
yes. So Kat, I'm grateful that you mentioned that. So it's like teenagers when they go to high school, for example. They haven't decided who they are. They haven't decided what they like, right? And so the other kids get to tell them, you're the cool one, you're the cute one, right? You're the smart one, and whatever. And so when people start throwing ideas and labels at you because you haven't decided who you are, you kind of like go with that. And then when it's not pleasant, then you hurt, right? Because you haven't created your own. So anyways, we can go on and on about that. But yeah, just to put that idea in your mind and kind of evolve it. So fear of making mistakes and failing and getting hurt and embarrassed and being criticized. And of course, we criticize ourselves, don't we? We say, hey, you're the worst. So that's the other reason why, because we don't make it safe for us to make mistakes. So that's why we're like, okay, we have to make the right decision the first time. Okay. And that's why we overthink and overthink. A lack of courage for facing the consequences. Well, if I mess up, well, I'm going to deal with it, right? But sometimes people are so scared to be accountable for their own choices. This one lady, she kept calling me and telling me, please just tell me what to do. And I said, you know what to do. You figure it out. Not what, tell me exactly how to do it, And the reason is she's so afraid of being responsible for her choices. And it's okay. What's the worst thing can happen, right? We can resolve things. And the last thing here is have not chosen to fully own their power to create and to choose. So it's like people not recognizing that they're a creator. Wait, I'm a designer of my life. Okay, I get to choose. Really? Right, just kind of awakening to that instead of like having to passively go through life because I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do that. All right. So why should we be decisive and trusting? So that's the opposite of indecision and doubt, right? Well, study this level of consciousness. This is in the Energy Balancing with Faith course. And by the way, it starts this week. So if you guys have friends or family that want to do this, let them know. Okay. We want to be decisive and trusting because we want to personally develop ourselves. We want to progress. That's why. So progress in all the levels, mind, body, and spirit, right? We want to build character. And the character that we really want to focus on is Christ-like character, okay? And that means we make choices every single day. We want to be powerful creators and create those extraordinary outcomes. If you look at this triangle here, this is just like vibration energy. The higher that you vibrate, the healthier you are, of course, more vitality, and then you have an opportunity to create and with synchronicity with God. And you get to have extraordinary outcomes. You have peak performance without stress because you have understanding now. You have joy and gratitude and love and peace now. Okay, but we get to go on that journey upwards. Okay, you know, we want to be decisive and trusting because it helps us be happy and fulfilled. We become great leaders and great example to others. And of course, in our situation, most of us, it's going to be our kids or our grandkids and our grandkids. Okay. So we want to do that. We want to have great health and vitality. All right. So what I'm trying to do is just help you, you know, like say yes to yourself. Okay. Yes, I want to raise my vibration and operate with synchronicity. If others can do that, I can too. You know, and I know that you probably experience this a little bit or a lot in your life where you say, I want this to happen, and voila, something happens and you create it and you manifest and you're like, no way, right? We want more of that. Okay, and of course, we want to have deep, loving relationships. Okay, relationships where you know, people are your soul sisters and your bosom buddies that, you know, you just go to the ends of the earth for, and you know, you're super loyal to, and it's just gives life meaning. Okay, so that's why we want to be a decisive person, and we want to learn how to trust. Okay, because we can get to trust other people too, and we allow this freedom of choice to other people as well. Okay, so we help people be free because we feel free. We feel free to choose now. Okay, so that's why it's important for us to develop an ability to be decisive and trusting. And, you know, lastly, I thought of, you know, learning to trust in yourself and trust in God without having to heavily rely on others to make the decisions for you. Okay, so so these are some of the ideas and reasons. I'm sure there's others, but what do you guys think? Good reasons to...
Yeah, Jade. Hey, how are you going? How's everyone? It's Roz.
Hey, Roz.
How you going? Look, I would just love to say, you know what? I used to never like making decisions. I hated it, and I used to always rely on others to help me. But what happened was I got really frustrated because sometimes I would listen so much that I would do, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't my decision. And because it wasn't my decision that I was doing, I'd get frustrated because things didn't work out. But since, and I really wanted to touch on this, when I did the your course, the balancing with faith, really helped me realize how important it was for me to just take ownership of my own decisions. And I don't get as frustrated. I'm using the oils, and it's just so amazing. And when I know if I do make that decision and it doesn't work out, it's okay. Like, I don't blame anyone because it's okay.
Yes, well done, Rosie. Yes, thank you for that. Chris, you have something to say, and then Kat next.
I was going to say I can relate to a lot of exactly what Roz is just perfect because pretty much I was doing the same thing as well. So I think it's a big thing, like you said, about trust and faith, and I've got issues now with I've got a relationship, it's a long distance relationship at the moment, and I haven't seen her for 18 months, and it's come to the point if she doesn't respond to me straight away, or I'll send a message and she won't respond. And I'm thinking, you know what? I feel demoralized. I feel, you know, worthless basically. And I know I'm stronger than that, but and I'm working through it, but I still get to that point and I don't understand why I get to that point as well. So it's a matter of, and I do trust her, but it's just crazy that I keep falling back into that state as well.
Yeah, okay, Chris. Can I make a suggestion for you? I have a video called The 6 Fundamental Human Needs, okay, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
it talks about anchoring ourselves in something else besides other humans. Because what if she's busy and stuff and she doesn't answer? Here you are going, whoa, you know. Instead, we have that confidence because we've anchored our need for certainty in something really solid. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I help people figure stuff out, because we don't realize that these needs that we have been, I guess, fulfilled in a way that's not solid. Okay, so yeah, I'll make sure that I'll send that.
Send me the video. I appreciate that. I
search on my YouTube channel as well, but I'll try to remember that for you, Chris.
Okay, lovely. I've seen the Tony Robbins ones as well. I've heard them, but you send your one as well, and I'll listen to that as well. Thank you.
More faith-based and more energy
Yes.
balance-based.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. So thank you, Chris, there, and Kat.
Yes, thank you for that. I wasn't talking. I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate Roz, what she said as well.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, these are the skills that I want to share with you. So listen up, okay? We are so used to being brain-led and head-led, all right? So we lead with our heads, we think and think. But guess what? You have limited understanding. It doesn't matter how old you are, you're still limited by the number of years you've lived, okay, and the experiences that you've had. And so sometimes when you're faced with new information or new challenges, you need new knowledge, right? And how do we get that? The only way we can get that is through divine intervention. So God talks to us in our heart. Okay, there's science where they say there's a lot of brain chemicals in our heart, in our gut, and our brain. But, you know, this is the order of alignment to God, right? So get out of your head, feel, just pause and feel. So ask a question, should I do this? Feel in your heart, okay? And then if you feel like, wow, it feels good, it feels right, all right, check in with your gut. Your gut will confirm, my gut's happy. I have a gut feeling about this. Ooh. Then in your mind, move forward. Okay, move forward in that space, right? Even if you're just thinking and planning ahead, right? Then after you make the decision, okay, that's faith, right? Because faith is not knowing and not understanding everything yet, all right? And light and knowledge will come into your mind, and then your heart and your mind will align, okay? But we do that, and it's a little bit counterintuitive to how you were before, perhaps, okay, or just a new skill. But this is active faith. And once you learn how to do this well, you're going to be that kind of person that says, well, I feel like this, you know, I'm not sure why, but I'm just going to go for this anyways. And then you really trust that it's going to work out. Okay, so if you read biographies of some of the really famous, amazing people, that's what they tell, you know, they say, well, it just kind of had an inkling, have a feeling, and it just kind of went for it. And then here it is. And then now they kind of understand the reason behind all of that. But it only comes after. So in Proverbs 3:5, we read, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. So it's just like the order of alignment, basically. We do have a brain. We can use our brain, of course, because we can reason and use the knowledge that we've obtained. But after we trust and follow that heart, okay? So does that make sense, guys? So we're going to have to try and have the heart lead from now on. Because really, I believe that we're here to succeed. God sent us here to succeed. So let's be confident in God's confidence in us. Okay. And what we really need to learn to do is to be still and feel, right? I think when we rush, we don't pause long enough to feel the sensations of our heart, okay, and our gut, and we don't recognize truth, and we don't recognize light, okay? And so as you keep practicing, it grows stronger and stronger, and you make quicker and quicker decisions. Right? But this is super important. I tell my kids, if there's one thing that I can teach my children, before I die, this is it. Okay, it's not any information, facts, or anything. They can get that later on if it's necessary for them. But this here, if they follow God and obtain the new information from Him for new situations, they'll be growing and they will be safely guided to wherever they need to be. All right. What do you guys think?
I actually love this because so we bought a bed and breakfast, and this was like a big move for us. And so we actually sold our home, which we have started other businesses, but we've always kept our home in Santa Rosa Beach. But we've done other things. But whenever I made this, I was very prayerful, and I felt it in my heart. And so I would feel fear. And I had this certain
We lost you, Ashley.
I was just like, doubt not, fear not, doubt not, fear not, doubt not, fear not, doubt not, fear not. Because having that faith opens you to everything. Because faith is love, and love is that highest vibration, which opens you to every single opportunity that you can have. Because when you look at things with love, you look at truth. And so to just have perfectly seeing eyes, you know what I mean? Just doubt not, fear not, because doubt is a block. Fear is a block, and it's just shades your vision. So to have perfect vision, look at it with faith and love. And so that has been.
Yeah, fantastic, Ashley. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about fear versus faith here real quick. So we must live by faith and not by fear, okay? And that's by Quentin L. Cook. So let's talk about some of the fears that we might have. A fear of failure and mistakes. So when my family, my kids talk about, oh, I don't want to make mistakes or whatever, I tell them now that failure or mistakes are a necessary part of accelerated learning. Okay, we're just learning faster. The more mistakes, the more we learn. So it's just learning, right? My daughter gave a talk this week at church, and she mentioned this. So I'm like, yeah, she's learning stuff. So we fear being hurt or fear pain. Okay, and the solution is, well, we have to recognize that we're designed to feel pain. Okay, that's weird, but we're designed to feel pain so we can know joy. Right, to the depth of our sorrows will be the height of our joy if we allow it. Okay, we allow the atonement of Christ to heal us and compensate all. Okay, and so that's very important. And the pain gives us lots and lots of clues. We recognize that maybe we've anchored ourselves in something that's not so good, okay, and not necessarily in God. So we just need to pause and rewire something. So the pain is not necessarily bad, all right? So what about fear of shame and embarrassment? Okay, so, we feel shame and embarrassment because we let others' opinion matter, okay? So instead, we tell ourselves we answer only to God, and other people's opinions is none of our business, okay? All right, if we feel like we need to make some choices or do some things, right, let the chips fall where they may. Other people can choose their response, all right? So what about things getting worse? If I make a decision, what if things get worse? Well, what if it gets better? Have you thought about that? Okay, and even if, things get bad, we can handle all trials because, we're designed to overcome the trials that we are given. right? And then all experiences can be consecrated for our own growth. So look back at your life, look at all the mistakes you've ever made, look at all the pains that you've ever experienced, right? Have you been able to benefit from them? Okay, right? We should be able to benefit from all of that. Okay, so if that's the case, and in the future, if things get kind of bad, then we'll still be able to benefit from it in some way. Okay, so, you know, this is just how I reason with myself and help others reason too. And, you know, making decisions, what if it's too much, it's overwhelming, I can't do it. Okay, well, with God, I can, because it's not all on me. I can call on angels, I can call on friends, I can delegate. All right, I only need to take a step at a time, and I only need to focus on progression, okay, and on the journey, not on the end results. Okay, so there's probably more fears out there, but if you just pause for a moment and kind of resolve it, you know, and just kind of anchor yourself in God in some way, those fears are resolved. Okay, any comments there? Any questions? Thank you, Debbie, for that comment there. It's about following the heart there. All right, guys. Faith is not only a principle of action, but of power also in all intelligent beings, whether in heaven or on earth. Okay? An abiding faith becomes an anchor to our lives, right? So I tell people this is the fundamental human need satisfied, okay? Satisfying that need of certainty, okay? So when you're anchored there, when things change around you, you're not shaken up, okay? And that's how you know you're good, all right? You're not stirred. So I like to invite you to focus on progression over comfort. Sometimes we chase after comfort. We make choices towards comfort instead of choices for progression, okay? So, you know, instead make choices towards progression and your comfort will follow, right? Does that make sense? Because you will not be comfortable if you're going to keep searching and creating comfort, okay? So God is more concerned about our progression than our comfort, guys, okay? Because our ultimate goal is to progress, right? The discomfort or divine discontent compels us to change, right? We just need to follow that heart. Even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, we're going to get through it. And then we'll be super happy, super comfortable, right? Greater comfort will come after we put forth the effort. And newness can be uncomfortable at first because it's unfamiliar, but we will always adjust to it. So when my kids or some friends, you know, say, oh no, it's kind of hard. And I said, hey, it's hard to you at first because it's new. It's new. Anything new might be uncomfortable because you just haven't, you know, experienced it before. And that's okay. It's not something that you can't do. And most of our fears of discomfort, you know, being homeless or whatever, you know, are imagined. Well, who was it? It was like Einstein or something. I've lived through a lot of things, but, you know, and most of it, you know, it wasn't real. All right. So if you have taken my course, anytime you fear something, do the fear setting activity, resolve it, and then it's done. You faced it already. So it's not unfamiliar. It's not new anymore. And you face it in your head, you face it on paper, done. All right, so I like this quote, even in our trials, we can experience joy and peace. I tell people peace and power. And on Sunday, I think it was my friend Kat, she says, you can't let your past hold your future hostage. That's really cool, really, because right now you're not in the past. Right now you're not in the future either, but our minds go there, or we let Satan direct us back there, okay? And all of this imagined stuff. But if we focus on the progression, we'll have that comfort. What do you guys think? All right. So when we focus on progression, we'll be able to make better choices. Alrighty. So just want to address true humility and false humility. Sometimes people muddle up the culture a little bit, and let's kind of iron it out, okay? So true humility means you're teachable. You can act quickly and confidently trusting in God's goodness. Okay, if God says something and your heart goes, oh, okay, whoa, all right, I guess I should do that, right? Do it, okay? That's humility. And, you know, false humility is self-reducing and doubting. Oh, I'm no good. I am this, I am too old or too small, too weak, too young, too whatever. Okay, and I'm no good in that area, blah, blah, blah. If God asked me to do something, I'm like, well, I guess you have to show me how to do that and let's figure it out together. Okay, so that's teachable, okay? Speaking up, speaking out calmly and boldly, right? So if you feel like, okay, God wants me to say something. So, you know, sometimes, you know, in church or whatever, Sunday school, whatever, I like to just sit there and listen, but sometimes my heart burns. And I'm like, oh, I really should say something about that, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'll raise my hands and I speak. And then, you know, it's always somebody that needs to hear it. And I am obedient, okay? And that's the true humility. There, like last Sunday, a lady came up to me and she's like, oh my gosh, like you've answered my prayers. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So just being obedient, just speaking up when you need to, right? And holding back and hiding, they think that that's humility. That's false humility, okay? That's worried and focused on pains. I don't want people to laugh at me. I don't want to say the wrong thing. You know, it's you. It's all about you, right? It's not about serving other people, not being the mighty instrument in God's hands that you want to be. Okay, so true humility is, you know, having this outward mindset, focusing on the greater good of humanity and of spiritual farsightedness. I mean, like the first time I wrote my book, you know, the Energy Balancing with Faith, the first time I wrote it, this is the second version of it, I cried my eyeballs out because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not the greatest writer, but I'm going to be obedient anyways, right? And I'm like, I hope people get what I'm trying to say. And I bet there's a ton of mistakes in there. But I did it anyways, you know? So, you know, that's what I mean, you know, just do stuff anyways, right? But when I, you know, hold on to the inward mindset, me, my, right? It's like, well, who, me? Oh, I'm not enough. I can't write. I'm not a writer, but, you know, I'm not doing it, right? When you get instruction, you say, okay, yes, why not me? I guess so. Right, let's just do it. All right, so that is true humility. So if you clarify that, you won't try to be humble by holding yourself back, by overthinking, by, you know, being indecisive, okay? You get that? So let's not be there anymore. Let's get rid of that false humility. This is all about you, right? So I love this quote here. The world changes constantly and dramatically, but God, his commandments, and promised blessings do not change. They are immutable and unchangeable. And this is what I mean. You can anchor yourself in him, and you know you have, because what everyone else thinks or say or do, it doesn't faze you. Okay, I used to be the biggest pleaser in the world. I wouldn't sleep at night if I feel like maybe I offended somebody, right? But now I know that I just need to please God. And if I say what I need to say, and if somebody chooses to be offended, I am sorry, that was their choice. One time, one thing in my class, I said, these oils, I'm so grateful because I know they're from God. Oh my goodness. I had one lady, she wanted to walk out the door because I mentioned the word G-O-D, right? I had no idea, right? And the friend, she's like, Jade, next time just don't say that word. And I said, if you're going to invite me to teach your class, I'm going to be me, right? And I'm going to say, but people have a choice to respond how they want to. And she's like, yeah, I don't like her very much anyways. I want you to come and teach. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if you want Jade, you get all of Jade. Right. So kind of, I think of prophets, okay? So if the prophets say, hey, you know, build an ark. And they're like, no, who am I? No, I can't build an ark. Right? I'm just going to sit here in the corner. No, who me? No, right? That's silly, right? Imagine if he faces God and God's like, dude, I asked you to build an ark, you know? And you're like, well, I'm just trying to be humble. Like he's like, you sure? That's humility. Okay, humility is just speaking up, speaking out, calmly, boldly, doing the thing I asked you to do. That's humility. Okay, so whoa. Just think of that. Think of Noah, right? All right. So the other thing too is degrees of light. How do you know you're making the right decisions? Because you don't have a big thunderbolt immediately when you make a good decision, right? You just feel, it just feels best. So which are the choices? Okay, this choice feels best. So I'm going to make that choice anyways. Okay, so sometimes we're standing here and we're saying, it's gray here. I want either light or dark. Come on, heaven, tell me light or dark so I know which way to go. Yes or no, come on. And it's not, it's all gray, right? And so you get to choose which direction you go. So pretend that you take a direction and, you know, between something that's good, you know, like for me, it was like, should I go to law school? Should I go to education? And what should I study? I mean, they're not bad choices, right? They're just choosing from good, good, good. And sometimes they're good and better or best. And we're not quite sure which one is which, right? That's okay, right? Because obviously if it's a bad choice, you know that's not good, right? But when you're choosing between all good choices, it's like, oh, it's kind of confusing. Well, make a decision. And if things start falling into place and things start to have ease and flow, and then you have more enlightenment and things get brighter and brighter, then you've made the right choice, okay? And if things get darker and darker and things get more difficult, then you know, maybe I should stop and reconsider and go back the other way. That's it, right? So that's the idea. So you just have to look for the degrees of light. I tell people, just stay in the light. You start in the gray and then you just get more and more and more light. Okay, so here's a scripture. I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have light of life. Okay, so you have this intelligence flowing in, the power of discernment. It's amazing. It's not from you, because sometimes, you know, things come into your mind and come into my mind, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's so good. That's not even from me. I don't even know I had that thought. So I'm better write that down. I'm learning. Okay, when you have a divine download, you keep on learning from the light. Okay, so things get brighter and brighter. So you focus on that, and even your physical appearance becomes brighter and brighter. Okay. That which is of God is light, and he that receiveth light continueth in God, receiveth more light. That light groweth brighter and brighter until the perfect day. Okay, so I really like that. It's just a great guide for us. Okay, things just going to get brighter. Have you guys read the book Slight Edge? Put a thumbs up if you have. This is something that I recommend people read, because it just tells us you can do anything, right? You can start in any direction. It's the projectiles, where you want to go. So when you want to be good and you want to come into the light more, right? Sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable because things are new to you. But as you practice and practice and practice, it becomes more comfortable later, okay? And then, you know, you're always going up and up and up. And the people that stay on that path consistently, they end up being those 5% of the successful people in the world, right? And the things that they do seems easy now. And it is easy because they've practiced enough, right? And when you practice making good decisions enough, right, it becomes easy, right? For me, you know, I got to the point where I just sit at a computer and I'm like, okay, you tell me what to write. And then I'm like, ta, 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 ta. And when I read back, I'm like, oh, that's good stuff. Like I learned that. I'm learning that too. Note to self, remember that, right? It's just like you're being the instrument, you're allowing that download, okay? And it's easier, there's no interruptions. But when we want to remain comfortable and we hold back and we hide, guess what? We're gonna be uncomfortable later. And then we join the 95% of the people who fail because they refuse to do the easy, simple things daily. Okay, making that choice of following your heart, making that choice of following your heart, confirming with your gut. Whew, okay, so make one small choice, one good choice at a time, all right? And it becomes easier and easier, and the comfort follows. And you can succeed in all the areas. So if you're talking about finance or health or business or whatever, for me, I tell people just do your citrus oils, detox and cleanse your body a little at a time every day. And before you know it, your mind is clear. The physical body and the other health problems go away. All the labels start disappearing, okay? All the health labels, right? So it's amazing. So guys, if you have a chance, go ahead and read this book because it's really powerful. It gives you hope that if I just do a little bit every day of something that I really think I should be doing, heading the right projectile, the right direction, then I'll get there eventually, okay? And it's going to be worth the effort. So this is another thing I'm going to invite you to do. I'm going to invite you to fire the critic. Have you seen Ratatouille? So that I imagine the critic inside of us like this, and the people that say, oh yeah, I tell myself off, and when I make mistakes, you know, I tell myself off, you know, you're so dumb, you're stupid, yeah, da, da, da. Okay, sort of like the critic inside your head, right? And then people wonder why they have a hard time loving and accepting themselves, because that critic is inside of them. It's them, so they can't love and accept that critic because they think that critic is actually them. So kind of like in the movie Ratatouille, that the critic that comes, you know, tastes the food and writes all the criticism, right? So guys, we're gonna fire him or her inside of you and then hire the cheerleader, the coach. Okay, so anytime you mess up, you're like, it's okay, me, keep going, me, yay, 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 go me, right? And I do this sometimes with my kids. They're listening to me. I'm like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm really good at this. And then I'm like, da, 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 da. And the kids are like, hey, mom, you can do it. You can do it. And then they're chanting with me. And I'm like, okay, thank you, guys. But it becomes a habit. And I have to say it aloud because if I'm doing it quietly, I go back to, oh, it's going to be a lot of work. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So try to get rid of the critic. So we change and progress faster. That's the reason why we have the critic right inside of head. We think that critic's going to help us change and progress, but we won't progress, right? But we change and progress faster with love and encouragement, right? Try that out. Stop the culture of criticism. Criticism only breeds discouragement and insecurity. It only breeds discouragement. So if you're talking to yourself in a critical way, you're going to keep on being discouraged and insecure. Okay, so encouragement motivates and drives action. So if you're taking action now, that means you've encouraged yourself well enough, right? And divine inspiration from God moves the heart, because that's never God's words. God will never criticize you. God will always encourage you, okay? And that will move your heart, okay? And as a leader, if I want people to move, to get going and heading the right direction, what do? I help them feel inspired, okay? Because that's going to help them move whether I'm there or not, okay? So commit to being your best cheerleader for yourself and others, okay? So once you're good enough, you know, in repeating that good cheer for yourself, then you can turn around and cheer for others, okay? And then hopefully we'll cheer for each other, all right? So you will be more decisive and trusting when you are safe from your own criticism. All right. And people that are afraid of other people's criticism, guess what? It's because they are still criticizing themselves. When you criticizing yourself, you free yourself up to making choices because you know you're not going to be put down. Okay. You know that making mistakes doesn't mean you're bad. Right. So you're free. Really. So if you need to fire the critic, right, and hire the cheerleader, right, use cheer, elevation, forgive, citrus bliss. These are the oils that really help you change in that way. Okay, remember, criticism has never really worked. Never. You know, after you've had a big session with yourself, criticizing the heck out of you, you know, putting yourself down to a bloody pulp, right? Are you going to get up and go, yay, I'm just so happy? You know, you're not. You're like, yes, I am the worst. I'm just going to bury myself for 5 years, right? Whatever, right? You won't get up and be happy, but the cheerleader will help you. Well, let me go back in a minute. So Any comments or questions there?
Well, one thing I can do is relate to everything. I've been very emotional now and crying and all that amongst all this, because when you feel the presence of God inside of you, it's just an incredible feeling. And it's so true what you say, Jade, that you have to believe, you have to be the captain of your ship and choose to be that person. And all my life I was coaching for 13 years for soccer, and I was the motivator. I was telling the kids, you can do this and you can do this. But the person that I should have been saying the most to is me, and having belief in myself. And I never had that. And now I've made a lot of changes, and I've progressed a lot. I've still got a long way to go, and I'm still willing to learn. I'm willing to accept responsibility for whatever I do. And I want to pass this on to others. Like you said, it's about giving and teaching people the right thing to do for themselves before anything else. So
Yeah,
I appreciate what you just said. Yes.
fantastic. Thank you. Especially when the parents, if you're encouraging, the kids don't have stuff for them.
Yeah.
But I had an issue with she's like, your kids can do no wrong. And I said, no, they mess up all the time, but I don't need to point it out, right, and rub it in their faces. The natural consequence is sufficient. They feel uncomfortable already. You know, like me, if I mess up, I feel uncomfortable already. Don't need everybody to remind me over and over, right? And so I'm like, yeah, just kind of praise and encourage. So, I mean, that's how you produce confident and, you know, faith-filled children, right? Yeah. So anybody else want to share? All right. So how do you know that you're confident and decisive? Right. So you experience peace, power, and purpose. When you fully own your power, you forget about what everyone else thinks of you, and you just stay focused. You've got your blinders on and you just live. Okay. Your body's healthier, especially the guts and head and hips and legs. Okay. And you no longer rely on other people to help you decide. Okay. Sometimes I think I like to get some feedback and for directions, but at the end of the day, I rely on the divine inspirations in my heart to decide. Okay. And then you really free yourself up to be you. All right. So I am, you know, starting the Energy Balancing with Faith course this week. Okay, it's very affordable. If you guys if you have friends that are interested in helping yourself resolve a lot of these things so you can be more decisive, okay, and get into the nitty gritties and the details of your subconscious, just let me know, okay? But that's it, guys, for today. Hope that helps you be more decisive and be more trusting. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording and have a chit chat with everybody that's here. Okay.